wanted Ukraine to surrender. Well, Ukraine just sent him an answer, and it wasn't the one he was expecting. Moscow is in darkness. This is not even a one-off instance. It's happening so often that even Russians are wondering if this is the new reality they have to live in. The answer is yes. This is the very same devastation that Ukraine has been facing for the last 3.12 years. Now Russians are getting a taste of their own medicine. For Putin, this could not be more humiliating. He has surrounded Moscow with a literal ring of layered air defenses. And yet, Ukrainian drones are still hitting deep inside, and Putin can't do anything to stop them. So, let's start from the beginning. Last night on December 1st, we saw videos coming out of Russia's Romansk district. This is a district in the Moscow region. The videos showed complete darkness. Authorities were unable to say when the power would return. They didn't even say what caused the blackout. But according to some residents, there was an explosion, and then it was all darkness. Here's a video of a resident covering everything. Take a look. Now, as I'm recording this on Monday night, we actually don't have any news about if Ukrainian drones were in the area. That means if this was sabotage, this is definitely worrisome for little Vladimir. This was actually Ukrainian drones. It might even be more worrisome. That's because Putin has surrounded Moscow with an air defense ring, left rest of the country defenseless just to protect himself and the capital city. I really mean that. Take a look at the image on your screen. But this means that if Ukrainian drones are still hitting power plants inside Moscow region, that means Putin is going to be hella paranoid, even if he's just hiding in his windowless underground bunker. Now, for Russians, it's a different story. For them, what makes this situation worse is the fact that this is not an isolated incident. Just a week ago, Ukraine had hit another big power plant in the Moscow region and blacked out the entire area. Take a look. This was the Sharuta State District power plant in the Moscow region. This is actually one of the biggest power plant in the area. But even then, Putin could not actually defend it. But then again, Russia's Ministry of Defense did claim that they destroyed 2 drones in the region. But it seems like it was that good old drone debris that was just too dangerous for Russian infrastructure. Just take a look at this aftermath. This was a shock to the Kremlin and to the Russians in the region. That's because after Ukraine destroyed the power plant, more than 30,000 people in the area did not have heating. This was around the time the temperatures were reaching freezing levels. That's why the governor said that they are deploying backup systems and mobile heating units. But according to residents in Russian Telegram, none of this was actually true. There was no heating after the strike. This is exactly why many Russians are now starting to question what's happening. They're wondering if this is the new reality they have to live in. This plant is one of the oldest stations in Russia. It was founded under Vladimir Lenin. That means it survived the Nazis, but it could not survive little Vladimir's invasion. This was one of the most serious damage since this war has begun. Yes, the fact that this was such a big hit, and the fact that strikes inside Russia are becoming so common, Russians are actually starting to understand how this war is going for Putin. Take a look at this message that was posted by a Russian citizen in a Russian Telegram channel. It was posted just yesterday on December 1st. There were 4 powerful explosions to the west of Rostov. One of them was strong enough to make windows shake even in the city center. Looks like it's time to get used to nightly strikes. Now, that was definitely a revealing message, to say the least. Now, here's the strike that this guy is talking about. And let me confirm it before you guys even see it. It was powerful. Take a look. This strike was an effective one, as you guys just saw. According to this report, heated up in southern Russia when this strike campaign was going on. A Ukrainian drone disabled a heating plant in Rostov, leaving 100+ homes without power. while at the same time a fire broke out at an industrial facility in Tor. Now, this just goes to show that this war is coming home for Russians, and it's not limited to just Russians in far-flung regions. We know Putin doesn't care about them. Putin only cares about Moscow. But now Ukraine is hitting inside Moscow, and it's hitting major cities everywhere. This is definitely not a good news. But what's making the situation even worse is Putin himself. You see, the Russian army is now turning to these elite cities to forcefully conscript young people from there. This includes Moscow. Now, this is something we've been warning about ever since the beginning of the war. Whenever Putin is forced to draft people from the elite cities, we know things are getting really bad. Now, this is not me saying just to, give you guys false hope. This is something that Russian lawyers are saying, the lawyers who are inside Russia, and they're fighting to defend the rights of conscripts. They are now publicly speaking up against this practice. Take a look. So in practice, they're forcibly drafting conscripts into the army in Moscow, but for some reason they don't want to make it law. So there is no reason for that. Of course, it will be bad if they put it into the law. This is to say that they can't even respond in time to their own repressive measures. Although it would seem for them there should be no problem passing this law through the state-controlled Duma. The primary and most important risk group, and I want to emphasize this, is conscripts from Moscow. From Moscow, because in the regions forced conscription usually doesn't happen. Something murky is happening in Makala, but in the rest of Russia, forced conscription into the army doesn't happen. In Moscow, there are two categories of conscripts. The first includes conscripts who went to the central draft office and left with a notice for army deployment. They fail to appear at the draft office on the date listed in their summons, regardless of the reason. An appeal, illness, it doesn't matter, right? They don't show up, that's it. Their information is immediately sent to the police, local government institutions, and into the sphere facial recognition system. And these conscripts are caught at Moscow metro stations and sent to the assembly site at Ugretskaya. Sometimes authorities may go to these conscripts' homes or track them elsewhere, but the main focus is definitely on monitoring them in the metro and on the Moscow Central Circle. So, a person passes through the turnstile or recognizes them, and they are already in a confined space. There are police officers at every station. It's convenient for catching them there, is exactly why they do it. The second category is those who ignore other summons. For the first time, a person is called to the main draft office and given a summon once or twice, are also included in the list sent to the territorial bodies of the Moscow government. They send the data to the local police department. There they hand the information over to the district police officers, who then start searching for them with all the resources they have. They come to their home, check the cameras, and they try to detain the conscript to forcibly send him to the so-called Unified Draft Center, as one of our colleagues dubbed it. It's basically a small addition next to the draft office where they bring people by car, and once they're inside, the gates are shut. The windows have bars, and inside there's one or several doctors who give the conscript a quick examination. Does he have arms and legs? Does then off to the army. So the question rises, why is Putin doing this, and why is he doing it now? Well, the answer lies in economics. Money, money. You need those three things to win a war. As Ukrainian sanctions and Western sanctions put more and more pressure on the Russian economy, is running out of money, and we are seeing signs of this everywhere in Russia. You see, when in September of 2022, Putin tested the partial mobilization. Russians are not a fan of mobilizations, so his solution was just to give out more and more money to volunteers who want to come join the army just for a paycheck. These bonuses hit some crazy amounts. Some regions you could become an overnight millionaire just by signing a contract with the army. But unfortunately, now that the Russian economy is feeling the pinch, we are seeing these bonuses disappear overnight. But you see, just because Putin is running out of money doesn't mean he doesn't need cannon feeder for the front lines. This is exactly why he's forcefully conscripting people into the army to go to the front lines. Only problem with this practice is that the people who are forcefully sent to the front lines just create more headache for the Russian military and for Putin himself. Take a look at this message that some of the Russian soldiers are sending to the public in Russia. We are servicemen of Military Unit 7264 22nd Regiment of the 72nd Division of the 44th Army Corps of the Leningrad Military District. To the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, Vladimir Putin. There are 28 of us in total. In May, June, July, we were deceived into signing contracts with the Defense Ministry under the pretext that this was the Yastrab PMC. We were promised a lot and we simply fell for it and we agreed. To briefly summarize the issue, in February of this year, seeing the lawlessness and betrayal in our unit on the part of the command, we turned to the investigative committee where a criminal case was opened. We were immediately told that after the investigation was completed, we would be sent to other units to continue our service. We testified against Mearsheimer, owner of the Yastrab PMC, to whom equipment and weapons were transferred by officials through Major General Dembitsky, the commander of the Corps. Testified about extortion from our salaries. Many of those who resisted were simply killed. We are still alive, but only because we are still in Moscow. On November 27th, everyone will be gathered and sent to the unit. Toward maybe we will last another week there, maybe a little longer. But the outcome is already obvious. We will also be killed. Many witnesses have already been killed. There were several hundred people. Now there are only a couple dozen left alive. No more. Officials of the main military investigative directorate are doing nothing. That's how we see it. Everything is heading toward the collapse of the criminal case. During our last contact, they stated that no one would be transferring us anywhere. Now, we can see that you don't bring the knife to a gunfight. We demand to be transferred to other units, as was originally announced. We are really for a resolution. Thank you very much if you sort out our problem. As that guy just said in that clip, it seems death is certain for Russian soldiers. Doesn't matter where they go on the front lines. This is something we've been analyzing for a while now, just by looking at the clips that are coming out from the front lines. From both sides, by the way, from the Ukrainian sides and from the Russian sides. Here's a most recent clip that we just analyzed like a week ago. Take a look.
Sure.
Yeah. So there's a tank going on, probably a T-72. This looks like he found the anti-tank mine. I noticed as it went by, it had a mine plow in front of it. We didn't hear a drone coming in. Sure. So yeah, something's wrong here. So he's got a mine plow. So yeah, the interesting thing is if you hit an anti-personnel mine, you're probably going to be okay in that tank, but this looks like they got it. Of course, I don't see their turret going flying, but that hurt. This is the not the donkeys. The sheep, which is new. We have seen camels, donkeys, and sheep. They're not going to like this. But the reason they've got this look, this guy's dinner. Also, look, this is not how you supply an army. But what is this supplying? It's not even carrying anything. At least Donkey was carrying supplies. So yeah, he's got something slung under his belly. I don't know what it is, but no, this is essentially a mobile dinner. Sure, yeah. The crazy thing is, I think, how young everyone is. Sure, yeah. You know, it's interesting how they're young in this, but there is the average age of combatants in this war on either side is 40. And that's, I was in a lot better shape when I was 42, but that's getting a little long in the teeth. I mean, you think about an 8-year-old, a 20-year-old. You heal faster. That's one of the things, the more I watch clips like these, the more I realize just how strong the Ukrainian army really is. We have to remember that Russia, in comparison to Ukraine, has a much bigger army and likely has a lot more drones and shells from countries like North Korea and Iran. But what Russians don't have is a strong mission. Only Ukrainians have that in this war. You can see this on the battlefield every single day. What was supposed to be Putin's 3-day special military operation has lasted for more than 3.5 years now. Ukraine has never once looked weak. Anything, they just keep getting better, and they keep destroying key Russian infrastructure. That's why, to talk more about all of this and to get deep into how Ukraine is actually winning on the front lines, I've been doing weekly battlefield breakdowns with former veterans like former Navy SEAL Chuck Farr and many others. So far, released 6 episodes, and we are releasing more every single week. Unfortunately, post these episodes here on YouTube because YouTube has a habit of restricting or sometimes even deleting those videos. For some reason, according to YouTube, these are not advertiser-friendly content. Well, that's why we built our own platform, Basics Insider. We built it from scratch, so we don't have any restrictions. And on top of that, we don't run any ads. So we don't have to listen to what advertisers like or don't like. We run this platform using support from you guys. So if you're someone who wants to watch all these episodes, join the platform right now by going to BasicsInsider.com. You can also click the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen. Top of these episodes, you'll also get access to a library of other podcasts that we have done with other experts, and all of that 100% agree. We'll also be adding new content every single week, and you'll also be supporting our work and supporting our channel by joining. So thank you so much. My name is Sam, and I'll see you guys in the next